Hello and welcome to Inside View. I'm your host, Sid Marsh, and with me today is Rob Miller, who's going to tell us all about the Ironstone Concourse D'Elegance. Welcome, Rob.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. First off, what is a Concourse D'Elegance?
Well, it is basically a beauty contest for cars.
Okay.
So it started out, they were a fashion accessory, and so you had a showing of elegance, or, a fashion show for cars.
That makes sense, but it's usually retro. It's usually older cars, right, or that sort of thing. Or
It started out with the current cars of the day.
Uh-huh.
So even one of the bigger shows here in California, Pebble Beach, it was the cars that people were driving, and it was a new phenomenon that started in about the mid-50s, where someone brought a car that wasn't brand new, but that had an elegance and an air about it, and he had fixed it all up and brought it to the lawn, and it ended up getting the grand prize. And now it's more common to have vintage cars at Concourse D'Elegance.
Now, how many cars will you have?
There will be 300 cars. We'll have maybe a dozen motorcycles. There's vintage trailers.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Vintage trailers are really a lot of fun. They really get into it. They have the vintage tow vehicle, the vintage trailer, the vintage cooler, the vintage record player. It's really a lot of fun, and a lot of them will let you, go in and look around. We have antique tractors. I think there might even be some stationary motors.
Sounds like anything on wheels.
Anything that makes noise. The stationary motors don't go, but the tractors and everything else goes.
So you'll have 300 cars, and now it's judged, right? Is that how?
It is. It's a kind of a modified. It's not as formal as some other competitions.
Who's doing the judging?
There's a group of about 60 people that all are judges for other shows and have judging experience, and we have a chief class judge. He organizes the guys, finds them, brings them from all over the place. There's a meeting in the morning, and they lay out the rules and what they're going to do and the protocols for the day. And they walk around and separate the wheat from the chaff.
So basically, these people have come great distance. They've probably spent some money to get into the thing, and they're competing. And what do they win? Bragging rights, or
there are trophies. Yes, bragging rights. It's wonderful that all these people want to come out and support the event. The reason behind it is to raise money for 4-H and FFA, and so the car community loves being with the car community, but we can have that and leverage that for something that's really beneficial for youth in agriculture.
Well, let's talk a little more about that. How much money do you raise for this?
So this is the 25th year, and we have raised over $1 million and distributed over $1 million to the kids.
Just this one event, yeah.
This one event. There's a whole group of volunteers that come out, and it's a really fun event, and it's for a really good cause, and it's proven to be fairly effective at raising the money.
How many people do you think show up?
That is a number I couldn't tell you. With just the car people alone, we'll have 600 people, and then we try and see what we can do for the gates, so we'll probably go triple that.
So just more. The people with the cars.
The people with the cars we can always count on, and every year it's different to see what we can do. And the gate is really, that's the fun part, to get people who haven't seen the cars. Every now and then you get a kid in there, and they see, you will see something. Even car guys will come out here and they will see something they have not seen before. Uh-huh. There's really a wonderful group of cars that are coming. So,
what's the most unique car you've seen there?
Well, there's a car that our good friends at the National Auto Museum, the Hera collection, out of Reno, they're bringing a car called the Phantom Corsair. And it is very, very futuristic, and that car alone, it's worth seeing it. It was really quite something. We have...
That's going to be this year.
That's going to be this year. It was here once before. I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's kind of like... a cross between an SR-71 and some weird ocean-going creature.
But it's a car.
But it's a car, and it's a very, very special car. And it's wonderful that they're going to bring it out. There's going to be a National Auto Museum tent there that they can tell you more about the Hare collection in Reno. They've been a great partner for quite a while. We have a dual Gia by another longtime supporter, John White out of Sacramento. It's really, those are our two prototype cars that are very unusual. They are the only ones. So
now, what's your background? What got you into this?
My dad liked cars, and as a kid I liked cars, and I was really lucky. My dad let me play with the cars. It wasn't like Ferris Bueller's buddy, whose dad loved on the car more than the kid. So we had some open space, and I was driving the ranch truck when I was 8, and just loved anything with an engine that would get me from A to B.
But you've had some old cars yourself, right?
We've had old cars, and that my dad's first hobby car. He always had a fun car, but his first hobby car he got when I was probably, I'm gonna do math, about 7 years old, and we'd ride around the old car, and you meet wonderful people playing with old cars. So
now, did you show cars?
We did. I remember we drove our car back in the day. We tried to drive our car. We drove it as far as San Luis Obispo from Santa Barbara, but then we had to hook it up to the tow vehicle.
That's not very fun.
Had some overheating issues at Cuesta Grade, but we got there and you cleaned the car in the parking lot. And it was a much smaller event in Monterey back then. There was the show on Sunday.
That's the Pebble Beach.
The Pebble Beach show. Right. So I've been going there since '72, and met some wonderful people along the way. And
now, how long has the Ironstone one been going on?
Well, this is our 25th year.
Okay. And what's the date again?
The date is September 25th. We have some other events that go with it. Unfortunately, those at this late, now that we're getting close to the event, those have sold out. We do Friday, we do a backroads tour through Calaveras. So we have 35, 36 cars. Old cars, and all different kinds of cars, not just one kind of car. So we have everything from a 1917 Dodge to, a 27 Pierce Arrow up to a, 69 El Camino.
So they're going to be driving around the county?
So we drive around the county. We have a lunch out at New Maloney's, and then everybody has some time to come back and get cleaned up. And then on the other sold-out event, we do a dinner under the stars. And everybody gets together and we sit out at the amphitheater, have dinner. People are allowed, this one's a very relaxed show, so people are allowed to get their cars and put them on the lawn Friday dinner so that they can just show up on Saturday with their car already staged and
make it nice,
walk onto the show and start talking to your friends and enjoy the afternoon.
Huh. So that's the 25th, and you have those two events before.
Correct.
Anything else happening on the day?
On the day of, the gates open at 9 o'clock. It's $25. Kids under 14 get in for free. Mm-hmm. We will have 4-H and FFA kids. They will have projects there. That's one of the neat things. The kids are on the property
with their 4-H
with their projects and helping and volunteering. So while we're helping them out, they're helping us out. It's really fun to meet them, see what they're doing.
Kind of like cars and cows.
Yeah, exactly. And just, it's really fun meeting the kids. All hope is not lost. There's a lot of hope for our future. These kids are bright. These programs are great. They learn a lot of, not just the animal care, civics, just public speaking, and so much of it. And,
sure.
It's really fun to be around them.
Now, are there any events that are happening during the thing? Any races
so we do
exhibits?
we have there's a lot going on. We have music. We have plein air painters on the property.
Oh, okay.
They're scattered around the property. There's the cars, and they occupy pretty much the entire field. So if you've been to Ironstone, there's the amphitheater, and then you can go down to the lake. We have an amphicar exhibit. It's a car that is a car and a boat at the same time. And you can see one of those drive into the water and drive around the lake.
Drive on out.
Drive on out. That's really a lot of fun. We have a race car class it's kind of the history of the automobile. So race cars are a great place for innovation. So we have, I can't remember, the oldest race car will probably have a 1912 National with a giant 4-cylinder engine and spitting fire out the pipes that come straight out the side of the hood. I believe we have a Formula One car.
Really?
We have a nostalgia.
They're going to go head to head?
Well, we've got some really knowledgeable people with the race cars and knowledgeable owners, and this is one of the fun features, and you won't miss it if you're out there because you can't help but hear it. And we'll select certain cars and discuss how they work and fire them up and let them be heard. When we get to the nostalgia dragster, that's all you will hear.
Uh-huh.
They're really a lot of fun.
An old dragster, the long.
It's an old dragster. And
with the big slicks and the whole thing.
Nitromethane, eyes watering, you can't breathe, fire coming out of the exhaust pipes. It's really, you can feel your insides move around when one of those starts up. Uh-huh. It's really a lot of fun. And we have a group called the Ragtime Racers, and it's pre-1920s race cars. And we'll have a track out by the Hay Station parking lot. Out behind it'll be very well marked, and they'll be running around so you get a taste of what it was like racing back in the old days when you weren't racing necessarily on a paved track, and slinging mud. And they'll have usually they have a breakdown where they how you fix the car. Great group of people, really a lot of fun to watch. So we'll be having that going on during the day. There'll be some food vendors out there.
Do you have an awards ceremony at the end?
We do.
Yeah.
And the award ceremony, it starts 2:33. It'll be in the program. I don't have the exact time, but they will take the cars that won in each of the classes, and you'll see them drive over the stage. They'll
so the car actually drives across the stage?
All the cars and the motorcycles, not necessarily the race cars, but sometimes we've done that, depending on which car wins. I did that once, and nobody could hear what Gail had to say. All you could hear was the car. Imagine. Yeah, didn't think that one all the way through. And there'll be a little talk about each of the cars. We have a few different awards. There's the class awards. There's the Friend of the Concourse award. We have some other special awards that happen. And you can see the cars go by and hear what they sound like. So it's an opportunity to see all the cars from all the different classes and watch them go down the road.
That starts in the afternoon.
That starts in the afternoon. Okay. There will be some auction items out there. There's some pretty neat stuff. And I can't speak to it all just yet, but it's always very interesting. People come up with great items. You can help support the cause and go home with some
car-oriented items, or
mostly.
Yeah,
mostly.
Okay.
There's some that aren't. We are in wine country, and
and it is counts.
Yes, and we like and people like different vacation opportunities, and so it's really a fun day. It's very relaxed. The food vendors are great. The people are there with great stories.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
I was trying to figure that out. It's been 15 years.
I was going to say a big
20 years.
25.
I started pretty early on, and I was asked to join, and it's really been a lot of fun. There's some great people on the board. There's some wonderful staff that help out.
Did you ever show? Did you ever have?
I did. I've almost every year I've had something on the lawn.
Do you have something this year?
This year I do not. I've been traveling a lot, and we finding cars to fill the field. And this year we've got one of our featured marks is Duesenberg, which will be very special.
So
and
you'll
with 300, we will have some very, very special cars. And
When you say Duesenberg, is that a class, or were you going to just?
We're going to have a Class 4 Duesenbergs.
So you'll have 4 or 5 of them, or something. Or...
We've got 3 Duesenbergs, which is a big deal. These
Yeah.
cars were incredibly expensive when they were new. They were getting near $10,000 for just the engine and the chassis.
Okay.
And then you had to find somebody to build the rest of the car.
And that was way back when.
That's back in the 30s.
Yeah.
And that's back, so just as the Depression started, Fred and Augie Duesenberg and E.L. Cord set out to make the finest motor car in the history of the motor car. The fastest, the best looking, the most expensive, and they succeeded.
At the worst time.
Yeah, the timing wasn't so good. But these cars would go well over 100 miles an hour when most cars were lucky to go 60 miles an hour.
Huh.
Just a real barn-burning car.
And you're going to have at least 3 of those.
We're going to have 3 of those. We're also going to have one of the leading experts on the mark. We're going to have some talk session, like a, so he's going to speak on the car, the history of the car. Really, there's wonderful, interesting race history with those guys and how they built the cars. And he will have tell you the differences of the cars, what makes them the technological marvel that they are. The Model J, which most people associate with that mark, are the 3 that we're going to have. Wonderful cars, straight 8 engine, dual overhead cam, very high tech for the day. And
do you have a hard time drumming up the cars, or do people beat the doors down to?
People really want to be at this show.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. We get the good weather, we get the kids, the food, the music, the race cars. It's a great way to spend a day. I love watching, it's a great dad opportunity, bring the kids out.
Sure.
I've done that with my son and with other kids that really love to go out there, and everybody, for me, the love of the car, and when you spark that passion somewhere else, it's really...
I've been out there a couple of times, and I've never been able to finish the whole thing. It's so vast. If you really want to look at all the cars, it's hard to finish.
I have never been able to do it, and I don't think I ever will. I usually stop and I see a friend, or I see something I'm really interested in, and we'll start talking about that. My wife hates going with, I thought we were going to look at cars. Well, we are. We've been here for 10 minutes. I know. Isn't it great?
But it seems like there's something for everybody there. I mean,
there really
kids
is.
to guys and gals and whatever. Yeah.
There's room to sit and visit, have a glass of wine, have an ice cream.
Plus the Ironstone landscaping. I love
the facilities are spectacular, and the people out there, especially Larry, we met with him today, who's in charge of the grounds. He just does a superb job.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't imagine spending all that time making something look so beautiful and then letting us park our cars on top of his lawn.
It must drive us.
He's really good about it, and he enjoys the event, and he makes that place just sparkle.
And he's the groundskeeper?
He's the groundskeeper. The cows. He's family to the Couts and does incredible work. The Couses have done an incredible job with the facility. It's just a wonderful place to spend a day, support the kids.
Now, how soon will you be starting to plan the next one? How long does it take to put something like this together?
We usually talk about the year that we've just done. We'll have a meeting within a month or so and discuss what worked, what didn't work, and then it's planned for the next year.
Do you have any thoughts about what you'd like to do? I mean, each year, do you have some kind of theme or anything that you try to do?
We come up with different featured marks. So the cars, there's always different cars. We've had different exhibits. The stationary motors were new. The tractors are new. There'll be different classes that rotate in and out.
Now, when you talk about stationary motors, those are just...
Back in the old days, they would have single-cylinder engines.
Oh, is this like we see at the fair? Sometimes
Exactly.
They have those? Okay.
And so very, very old technology. And so there's a single cylinder with a flywheel that drives something off of the flywheel, a sawmill,
Right.
a water wheel, whatever you needed it to drill press. And they work, there's usually a fuel tank that sits on top.
Right.
The oil is constant loss, so there's a canister and you can see the oil dripping into the engine.
So this is one of your classes out there.
Well, it's a group of guys, and you can really see how an internal combustion works at its most basic level.
Right.
You know, air, fuel, spark, and it goes around and around.
Without any wheels.
Yeah, but you can see what makes it, and then you can, you know, with the automobile, you add more cylinders, you add a transmission and a rear end, and turns the wheels, and off you go.
And then you can go into the amphicar.
And then you go, yes, I don't know, that guy stayed awake very late coming up with that, and they're really a fun group.
Now there'll be more than one or just one out there?
We're not sure this year. They've come out in different numbers every year. They are a difficult car to make. There's a lot of amphicars, but the ones that come out to Ironstone, they actually do.
They work.
And all the seals work, and they are a car and a boat. There's a lot that are just a car, and these guys spend a lot of time keeping them going. And
What year were they built? They're old, aren't they?
I don't want to speak out of school here.
You've
You've asked me a question I don't have the answer to, but they were in the 50s and 60s.
Right. So, I mean, even if you had one today, the parts are hard to get.
I would think so, but with all the different hobbies, there's people the first thing you learn when you get into the car hobby is you find the guys that have the same kind of car that you do.
Okay.
So you join the Amphicar Club with the other like-minded Amphicar guys, and they understand the vehicle and all the history that they have behind them. We had an old Rolls Royce that was a much maligned car. It had a 12-cylinder engine, and most people would look at it and say run. And the people that loved the car, that really wanted to keep the car on the road, they were a very tight-knit group. And I remember I had an issue, and I called the expert. Didn't know what his profession was, but he was a dentist. And we got it was a dentist's office. I said, I think I have the wrong number I was looking for. Oh, no, this is his office. Please hold.
You were looking for a mechanic.
Please hold. So he answered the phone. He said, well, I need to finish this filling, but I'll get right back to you. We need to get this problem resolved right now, so that to keep the reputation of the car as one that runs, not one that's always on the side of the road. And sure enough, he, between patients, called me right back, had the answer, told me where to look, which parts that we'd need, and how to diagnose the problem, and that kind of help, with the different hobbies. And again, I started out, and it was all about the cars when I was young, and whatever kind of car I was excited about, those were the only cars that mattered.
Sure.
And after doing it for a number of decades, you start to realize that the cars start the conversation, but there's just so many wonderful friendships that we've developed over the years. I find myself at the bigger car shows, seeing my friends, and as the cars are driving by, we're looking at pictures of trips that we went on with our kids, or
right.
Meeting the grandkids, or talking about who's going to what school, and
there's a whole camaraderie.
There's just a wonderful community, always willing to help out, and these kinds of gatherings, especially with all we've been going through with everybody being cooped up at home. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity to get outside, see your friends, stay apart, but together at the same time.
Is there much wheeling and dealing that goes on at these things? Do people buy and sell cars and that sort of thing?
Typically at a Concourse, the guys that are showing the cars, they have found their car that it's not a swap meet kind of an environment.
Okay, right.
Those things happen with car guys, and it's a lot of fun.
Right.
But usually the car that's on the lawn, somebody's put a lot of time and effort into it. They've made it run. They've got the tires working. They've cleaned every nook and cranny. They've been loving on the car for weeks prior to the event. And this is their passion. And they're not about trading it. They're about enjoying it,
Right.
and showing it to other people, the unique features, what they like about the car, what they like to do with the car.
Have you ever thought about having that though, as an ancillary thing, a little swap meet or something, and, you know, with parts and
I
pieces?
suppose we're always open to new ideas. That could be a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Just a side thing, you know.
Yeah, I've watched some of the other Concours really sprout different tentacles to do different things. They'll have art shows. We have the plein air painters. I mean, we do have quite a bit of different stuff out there. And I think the focus, you know, it's a much more laid back, less hectic event the way it's laid out. So we've got a lot going on, but we want it to still have that enjoy the day in a lovely, you know, park-like setting. Look at all the cars, see the people, enjoy what's there. I think you start packing too much into it.
Right.
You know, it stops. There's a lot of people that do the bigger shows, the Duesenbergs that, you know, I can't say for sure, but I would presume they've all been to Pebble Beach. And
well, the only one I've ever heard of is Pebble Beach and then Ironstone. Are there a lot of car?
There are a lot of car shows. Pebble Beach
but Concourse D'Elegances or whatever they call
well,
it.
there are many Concours. There's some great Concours throughout the country. Pebble Beach is right around the corner, but it is one of the biggest shows.
Yeah, that's the premier one.
And it's where when Gail and John came up with the idea of doing this to raise money for the kids, they went there to see how it was done. And they found our chief class judge, Chris Bach, who was then working at Pebble Beach, who is now the chief class judge of Pebble Beach. And this is the guy who they got to run their car show. So the people that are involved with that show are used to the nerves and the anxiety and everything has to be just right, and it's a completely different day than coming out to Ironstone.
Right.
We have the same cars, but in a much more relaxed environment. And you can see the cars, talk to the owners. They're not worried about the judges coming around, and, you know, they do come around, and it is fun. You know, there will be winners.
Right.
But
it's not stressful.
But the stress level is just not there. It's a really fun, and I have so many car guys that have done this for a long time, with the been there, done that attitude with the car shows, that won't miss this one. It's just so much fun.
Well, why don't you remind us again when it is, what time, all that?
So it is September 25th. The gates open at 9 a.m. Admission is $25 at the gate. Kids under 14 get in free. Again, there will be you'll go by a couple of projects on the way in, and the cars will be out on display throughout the grounds, in the amphitheater area as well as down by the lake, out on the peninsula, and running around in the backyard.
Well, you've given us a lot of information. I think I'll be there.
Well, we look forward to it.
Well, thank you very much for being with us, Rob. And I'm Sid Marsh. This has been Inside View, and we'll see you next time.